Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Shit Trainers Say. I'm flying solo today because we're dealing with this ever shifting rules and safety guidelines of COVID. But I'm here to talk to you guys about core training because you hear so much about core training, what it is, what it isn't, how you should do it, how you should not do it. It's like everything else out there today. There's so much information, and you don't know what's misinformation and what's true information. So I wanted to share with you guys my take on core training after listening to Mike Boyle's lecture on core training. And if you don't know who Mike Boyle is, that's okay. I don't expect you to. You're not a trainer. I am. So I know who Mike Boyle is. Mike Boyle has been in the industry for 20 plus years. He was strength coach at Boston College. He was a strength coach for the U.S. Women's Olympic hockey team. He's written a couple of books on functional training. He lectures all around the nation. He is very smart in that he can take very complex things and make them simple. He can explain them to a 5-year-old, which means he has a total understanding of functional anatomy, which is why he's such a giant in the industry. And I say all of that just to qualify Mike Boyle for those of you who don't know him. And the thing that I love, he's also created certification, the Certified Functional Strength Coach certification. He runs a couple of websites, bodybyboyle.com, BOYLE.com, and also strengthcoach.com. So if you want more information about Mike Boyle, you can go there to find it. And he's been on a ton of podcasts. Just search Mike Boyle and you'll come up with all kinds of links. But the thing that I like most about Mike Boyle is that he's not afraid to be wrong. He's not afraid to say that, when I first started out training, I thought this was true. And so I did this with all my athletes, all my clients, and now I know it to be wrong. So I probably led to some injuries. And I know any trainer worth their weight will tell you the same thing. I can tell you that I'm a much better trainer today than I was 20 years ago. Now, 20 years ago, I had the same good intentions, but I didn't have the knowledge base. I didn't have the experience. So as I've grown and evolved, and as Mike Boyle's grown and evolved, he's learned more, right? He's quoted as saying, you have two choices. You could be stupid or you can stay stupid. All right. So don't be afraid to be the stupidest person in the room. Ask questions, learn, grow, evolve. And that's why Mike Boyle is one of my favorite mentors when it comes to strength coaching and functional training. So basically what he says, he based a lot of the lecture on Stuart Mcgill. Stuart Mcgill, and I know there's a lot of preamble leading up to it, but I'm getting to a point, I promise you. So Stuart Mcgill, he's also an icon. This book right here, Low Back Disorders by Stuart Mcgill, is the foundation that I built a lot of my back rehab on with my clients. Because what he did, he's a Canadian professor, and he spent years in the laboratory testing spines. So it's evidence-based. Everything that he wrote in this book, and it even says evidence-based prevention and rehabilitation. Everything he did in this book, it was based on his research and the numbers he was getting back from what he was doing in the lab, his experiments in the lab. And then he wrote a follow-up book, Ultimate Back Fitness and Performance. So this is kind of low level. If you have back pain, you're looking to get back to some kind of functionality. This one is more if you want to take it to a higher level of performance. That's what you need here. And then it's also, he also based it on Greg Cook, which Greg Cook is a guru. He's a movement guru. The guy is amazing if you've ever seen him live, which I have several times. He invented the functional movement screen. He's written a couple of books. This was his early book, Athletic Body and Balance, which kind of was a groundbreaking book and what led him to develop the functional movement screen. He's since written another book called Movement. It's very thick, textbook-like, and it's like reading a textbook when it comes to movement. So Mike Boyle says great coaches steal. So steal away. So I'm stealing Mike Boyle's. I'm stealing Stuart McGill's. I'm stealing Greg Cook. and I'm sharing them here with you. So basically what he says is that you need to be able to move your extremities without compromising the stability of your spine. And if you look at any great athlete or person movement, when they move, like golfers, when they move, they don't get rotation through their spine. They get it through their hips, their legs. When they finish their swing, both feet are pointing forward because they've moved their hips while their spine has stayed stable. You have to think of it as like a transference, right? Whether you're playing hockey, baseball, golf, any kind of running involves rotation. What you need to do is take that force from the ground coming up through your legs and your pelvis, and then transfer it up to your upper body. And it's like trying to transfer something over that's like, if your spine is not stable, you lose a lot of force in your spine, and then that force gets absorbed by your spine, which then leads to low back pain. So what you need to be able to do is stabilize that spine so they can transfer that force cleanly. So when you think of it in that way, the core encompasses a lot. All right. It's basically everything that's not your head, arms, legs, everything outside of your extremities, and sometimes part of your legs, like your adductors, your pelvic floor, your glutes, your glute medius, piriformis. All of that can be part of your core, depending on the activity you're looking at and depending on the movement. So core training and low back issues are very movement specific. But regardless of the movement, what you need is stability. That's why he endorses things like planks and what we call Palloff press, which is basically a spinal stability move, teaching your spine to stay stable while you're moving your extremities. All of those things can encompass the core, and anybody who will tell you that they can fix your low back pain without seeing you, without doing some kind of assessment, without watching you move, is not a good trainer. I'm just going to say it. And that's what Mike Boyle says in this lecture, is that unfortunately in this industry of personal training, it's easy to stand out. All you have to do is give your clients a good workout and not hurt them. If you can do that, you're a good trainer, because it's a pretty low bar. Because Mike Boyle says there's a lot of idiots in this industry. There's a lot of people that think, oh, I like working out. I'm good at working out. I'm going to go and I'm going to take a weekend cert and I'm going to get certified as a personal trainer. And then I'm going to start training people exactly the way that I train. And that's how people get hurt. So, and there's a lot of people in this industry that fit that description. They don't take the time, the initiative to continue to educate themselves by reading books, going to seminars, listening to other strength coaches in the industry. And that's what it takes to become a master trainer and to fix people's low back pain, to fix people's movement, to fix people's core stability so that they can continue to function without low back pain. But I don't want to get off on a side tangent or soapbox about the industry and trainers. My message is that Stuart Mcgill did experiments on pig spines because he couldn't find any human volunteers willing to blow out their spinal disc. So he had to use pig spines in the laboratory. And when they did crunches upon crunches upon crunches upon crunches, or spinal flexion, whether flexion or extension, the pig's spinal vertebrae exploded. Basically, it deteriorated, it broke, it basically crushed their spine, because you're taking a system. Your spine is in three parts. You have your lumbar spine, thoracic spine, cervical spine. And they have fixed limits. Your lumbar spine is doesn't have a ton of rotation, has very little rotation. It's built mainly for flexion and extension. Your thoracic spine is probably the greatest range of rotation that you get in your spine. But a lot of people have this kyphotic posture, shoulders forward, back rounded. And when that thoracic spine is curved, it takes away a lot of that rotational ability. So you have to have good posture in your spine to get that full range of motion and rotation through your thoracic spine. And then your cervical spine is basically your neck, tons of rotation, unless you have limitations in other parts of your spine, then it will limit the rotation of your neck. So you can't talk about one without talking about the other two, because they're all related. They're all part of the same system. But even within that system, even in the thoracic spine where you get the most rotation, you still have a limited amount. So you have to get the rest through primarily your hips, which involves glutes, adductors, glute medius, piriformis, all of those things. So I say that to say that when you're training your core, you have to make it specific to your movement or specific to your dysfunction. If you have a dysfunction that's causing you pain, if you have something that's causing you pain, stop immediately. Don't continue. Even if it's like, oh, once it warms up, it's good. No, if you have pain at the beginning, it's not good. And just because it goes away when you warm up doesn't make it okay. All right. You have to address that pain. That means there's some kind of dysfunction going on. So always start with spinal and core stability. That's things like planks, side planks, one-armed heavy carries, creates a lot of spinal stability, things like that. And if all else fails, seek out a professional personal trainer and ask them questions. Make sure they're qualified. Make sure they're educated. Make sure they know what they're talking about. The first test is like if you call them up and you say, hey, I have low back pain. And they're like, yeah, come on in. I can fix it. And you're out the door. They say, hey, come on in and we're going to take you through some movement screens, look at the way you move, ask you some questions, see if you have any orthopedic issues or medical conditions that might be contributing to this. And then based upon that information, I'm going to tell you if I think I'm able to help you. Because I'm telling you right now, there's some things that may be beyond my scope of practice, and I'm not going to go there because it's going to be bad for you and bad for me. So I say all that to say that core training is simple in that you have to just basically create stability, and then it becomes intricate when you think about specific movements that you want to perform pain-free or at a higher level. Then you have to get specific with your core training, because then the movement dictates what core muscles are involved in it, and what core muscles you have to strengthen for that specific movement. So you can't just go and do core, and do all of these exercises and call it core, and then say, oh, my core is strong. Is it strong in this area and weak in this area? Because that can lead to injuries, or is it strong here and you got a solid base, you're good to go. But you need to let pain be your guide, and you need some kind of objective person looking at the movement to say, yeah, that movement looks clean. So that is my shit trainer say for today. I hope you were able to get something out of that. I hate that I couldn't be more specific, but it all depends on what you want to do, what your lifestyle is, what your previous activities were, what activities you want to do going forward. If you have any pain, if you don't have any pain, how mobile are your hips, your knees, your other joints that contribute to your movement, all of those things. But I can tell you unequivocally, based on Stuart Mcgill's work in the laboratory, that spinal flexion core moves will lead to injury. So that's my bit for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to get something out of it. And I know other trainers are going to look at this and probably try to pick it apart and tear it apart. you know, maybe I missed something, maybe I didn't. I welcome the discussion. If you want to have a discussion about it, I'll be more than happy to discuss core training with you, and maybe answer some of those questions on the show. So until next time, I hope you guys are well.